Dr. Bob Wakesa is the head of the African Center for the Study of the United States at Wits University. Dr. Wakesa, I imagine you haven't slept in the last, 4 years, I suppose, since Trump became president. Good afternoon to you. How important is Biden's speech tonight?
I think Biden's speech is going to be critical because now he will be speaking as president, not as president-elect. The point being that the U.S. system is such that one wins the election, then has to wait nearly a couple of months, in fact, a couple of weeks to become president, during which period there's a lot of speculation on what he will say on day one, what he will do on day one, and so forth. So I think that is a speech that is going to be awaited quite a bit with a lot of anticipation. In fact, anticipation over the last couple of weeks, because indeed Trump, being what he was, caused quite a bit of consternation, and Biden is supposed to speak to that. There's a coronavirus, pandemic, and rallying just not the Americans themselves, but the rest of the world around this pandemic is going to be an issue that will be watched and listened to in terms of his speech. And then obviously the tensions that have been building, what kind of speech can he make to bring together a country that is divided along racial lines, along political lines?
12 years ago, tonight, I think it would be, Barack Obama said that he would be the president for all Americans, even those who had not voted for him. Then there was hope that that could be the case. And in fact, the person he ran against actually asked people to respect the president at the time. Now we're in a situation where Joe Biden could say, I will be the president of people who didn't vote for me. But those people who didn't vote for him might not accept him as their president.
Absolutely so. I mean, the events we saw on January 6th, just slightly 2 weeks ago, the storming of the Capitol by mobs of insurrectionists who are saying, no, look, we do not believe that Trump lost, and we do not want the certification of Biden as president. It just goes to demonstrate the levels of polarization. And the extremes that are there. I mean, we've seen, in fact, the inauguration ceremonies themselves, how they are being handled with lots of, military presence, lots of firepower and security. Not just in the Washington, D.C., but across the capitals in the 52 states, goes to demonstrate that the levels of extremities are such that Biden can hope to be president for all, but he will not be president for all. They are the far-right groups, so-called white supremacists, that have sworn that they are not going to, accept him as a new president. And again, we have not just outgoing President Donald Trump, who is going to try to invigorate and to stamp on his base, keep the fire going in terms of they are not being in support of the new president. So I think he can say that as much as he can. In fact, he has been saying that he'll try to bring the country together. But tell me if he will. I mean, it looks like a tall order.
Well, also, I mean, because of the situation, he's going to speak a language of unity, a language of peace. He's going to be backed up by, surrounding him are going to be more guns and people holding firearms than ever in human history.
No, in fact, that's the irony of it, that here you are talking of, we are forging together, we are closing ranks, we had an election, it was a dramatic election, but we have gone through it, and now we need to heal the nation. But as you are saying that, I think there was talk of over 25,000, National Guard, essentially army people, as it were, with heavy guns. And the whole of Washington, D.C. is on high alert with tanks and so forth. And as I mentioned, across the country, a country which is continental in size, security, presence across the states. So, the message of peace, therefore, becomes quite ironical in a situation where you see more firepower, more tension, more violence, more of, uncertainties, rather than, peaceful transition and so forth. And that's really where America is now today. Whatever else Americans say, even if they say, no, look, we've seen the back of Donald Trump, and we are going to forge peace, and we are going to demonstrate that we are back as superpower. The images we see speak a different language.
Up until this point, I would argue up until, well, an hour and 50 minutes from now, Joe Biden's coalition, and it is a coalition of different forces within the Democratic Party, ranging from what are sometimes sort of referred to as quite conservative Democrats, all the way through to the Black Lives Matter movement, sort of movements that really want large social change in the United States. They've been held together by Trump as the enemy. And I mean, this is what happens in human history. Coalitions form against a person. Trump leaves. Is Biden now suddenly going to find it difficult to manage that coalition?
I think it's going to be very tough because certainly the Black Lives Matter movement was quite a major bulwark in his winning the elections. And as it's happened, although it was tragic, the death of George Floyd was actually a turning point in some respects in bringing those into the fold. Some of these have been actually Republican or just not very interested in electoral politics. So you have those kind of activist groups that want racial harmony or want better lives for blacks. Better lives in terms of education, in terms of housing. They have, excluded from the economy, as it were. Then you have the progressives who are actually on the far left. So much so that as you have the far right, they're on the far left. Joe Biden and the likes of Barack Obama are seen as centrist, as sitting in the middle. And so now that the enemy is left, they will find room to actually fight over lots of issues, beginning with, the packages that are going to be sent out there to elevate the COVID-19 and build the economy. Issues to do with bills, acts of parliament, acts of the legislature that will come out to do with economic development, democratic governance, inclusion into the economy and so forth. Whereas the progressives who are on the far left will look for a government that supports the poor in a big way. The Democrats who sit in the center will say, not quite. People have to go out and work for themselves. So indeed, you're right that people like Bernie Sanders are not necessarily going to go away quietly. They'll want, ideologically, they are in the same party, but they are apart.
Dr. Bob Wakesa heads the African Center for the Study of the United States at Wits University. Well, as you can see on your screen, there are people arriving for the inauguration. Barack, Michelle Obama, they're there. Bill and Hillary Clinton arrived for the ceremony as well. Well, a different tone to some of the tweets for the new administration. Here's